Uh, Giovanna is a 21-year Toastmaster at Mattel Toastmasters. She started when she was 12. And I love this. She adds touches from the unapologetic Barbie doll combined with the lightning speed of Hot Wheels cars. Now, any of you try to make fun of Barbie dolls to Giovanna, and she'll say, just whatever you want to say. Barbie doll just makes billions of dollars every year, no matter what. She's an amazing woman. In District 1, which is until last year was one of the smallest districts in the world of Toastmasters. I think New York City now has a smaller district. She was number 9 in the world, select distinguished. Ooh. And she talks about 3 things that led to this: continuing the momentum from previous teams, setting stretch goals, and connecting people with opportunities that align with the vision. She's been a Speakers Bureau chair in District 1, where she resurrected it from near death. She's won numerous awards in Toastmasters. She's been the District 1 evaluation speech contest, but more importantly, this is unbelievable. In 2002, she was the US Open Advanced Strictly Swing Dance Champion. Wow, swing dance, amazing. And she's a contributing author of the book Women Who Rock #2. Make sure you read that chapter. And near to my heart, she's a member of the board of the Freedom Riders Foundation. And at their anniversary year last year, I won more than half of the raffle prizes. So
you bought a lot of raffle tickets.
I sure did. I contributed, and I gave them almost all away too. So nonetheless, what a great organization from Erin. We love that. Of course, Giovanna loves going to Disneyland when it's open. No matter what she's in, her journeys can be tied to a strong work ethic, surrounding herself with good people. I'm so glad to be one of those. And treating her growth like it's worth $1 million. Please join me for her speech, worth $1 million. Distinguished Toastmaster ×3, Giovanna Dottore.
Thank you, Mr. Osier. It is so wonderful to be back in District 12. I was here just a few months ago. It is a beautiful Wednesday night. I don't know what it's like in LA or Orange County. I'm actually up in Sacramento, and things are a little bit different here. And I'm in a garage, so this is a whole new speaking experience for me. Now, some of you I am recognizing, and you might recognize some parts of my speech. And so if you do, I'm going to ask you to listen a little bit differently this time. You already know a lot of what I'm going to say. So to make it interesting, I'd be curious if you would jot down your thoughts. How have you done things differently or not since hearing some of the things we talked about, treating your personal growth like it's worth $1 million? Where have you taken some risks and what were the results? And if you chose not to, if you chose fear or you chose your considerations, write those down too. Not right or wrong, not good or bad, just something to notice. Let's see how you treat your growth like $1 million. Now, what I really want to know, where are my busy people? Raise your hand, click an icon, give me feedback. What you need to know about me is I love audience feedback. And it is torture for me in a virtual environment with video off, people staring at you, or they got their glasses on, but I can see the reflection. They're doing something else because I wear glasses. I can see myself. So please give me some feedback. Where are our busy people? We have a few hands. Okay. If there are any district leaders on the phone, on our call, the people who did not respond, those are the ones you want to go reach out to because they're not busy. Right? They're not busy. They're the ones you want to enroll onto some of your committees. Now, what's interesting is I find a lot of times there are so many things competing for our attention. We've chosen to fill our lives with all these different activities. Now, you may say, I don't have a choice. I have to work. I promise you, you have a choice. You might not like the choice, but you have a choice. And so there are so many things that we've chosen to put in and competing for our time. And busy sometimes simply means It's not important to me right now. And that's okay. Not everything is important to us every second or moment of the day, every day. But I wonder, if it was important to you, would you figure out your time? If I said, if you could get yourself to New York by 2 a.m. on Friday morning, you would be guaranteed $1 million. Would you figure your busyness out? Would you figure out your childcare, your transportation, your work schedule, your partners, your hair, all these things? Would you figure it out? Would that be important to you to get $1 million? I need some feedback. Let me see your emoticons. Because if you don't want your $1 million, I'll take yours. I can get myself to New York by 2 a.m., no problem. $1 million would give you a whole lot of access. Would you agree? A whole lot of access. But sometimes not everybody would take it. When people ask me why I stay in Toastmasters for so long, I say treat your personal growth like it's worth $1 million. It will give you a whole lot of access. The actor Jim Carrey once said, "The effect you have on others is the most valuable currency you can have." And I believe a way that you can have a positive impact on others is by doing things like this, being in the Speakers Bureau, joining Toastmasters, and developing your personal growth. We don't know what we don't know. We could make our choices out of what's possible for the good, or stay in our fear and our considerations, because we'll have them. Now, in my bio, my introduction, Michael mentioned that I am a former competitive West Coast swing dancer. And the biggest event of the year is the US Open Swing Dance Championships, which would take place every year at Thanksgiving weekend, which is not happening this year. I'm so sad. But it's the time where competitors from around the world come, they debut their brand new routine that they're gonna do on the circuit, their costumes, their music, you get to reconnect with friends. It is an electrifying weekend filled with energy. And people buy the DVDs because it's not like just the weekend is good enough. We want to have a watch party afterward and relive the magic and the moments. And you'd sit around talking and analyzing that routine and the costume and what looks good and what doesn't. But you didn't do that with every routine, because there were 3 types of routines in couples. The first one is the one that's most amazing. You will not get up from your chair. You don't dare refill your cup or your chips. You are sitting there glued to the TV watching this routine. The second type is the routine that is pretty good. You wouldn't mind if you missed 1 or 2 things. You would get up to go refill, no problem. It's still within eyeshot. You can see it. And then there's the third type of routine in couple. It's the one that you really don't care. You'll even go to the bathroom because you won't miss a thing anyway. In fact, we call that the fast forward couple. And no one wants to be the fast forward couple. So here it comes, the first year that I did my very first routine. My partner and I, we put together this beautiful set of Beatles songs. It was a beautiful cut of medley Beatles songs. And we did our routine. And it was not well received. And we were the fast forward couple that year. And not only that, we never did that routine on the circuit again. It was a one and done. Now you imagine the blow that it had to our ego, because we were one of the favored couples amongst our immediate circle. And it was an incredibly humbling moment. Now come the following year, when it was time for our routine to start cooking up, what were we gonna do? What was the music? Who were our choreographers going to be? We thought a lot about the prior year. And you want to know what we came up with? A whole lot of considerations. How in the world would we ever place in the top 5 against people who compete year round? They do it professionally. They travel 48 weekends out of the year, competing, coaching, teaching, performing, going on auditions. They're always in a studio. And we have your regular 8 to 5 jobs in a cubicle. Then after work, we have to go to a studio on top of that. There's no way we could travel 48 weekends out of the year. How could we ever possibly compete against the pros? So our goal was, let's not be the fast forward couple. That seems legit, right? Like, we don't want to be the fast forward couple. And so we put our plan together. Everything we did was based on that mindset. Let's not be the fast forward couple. The way we choreographed our routine, there wasn't a lot of complexity in it. The amount of hours we spent in the studio, it was probably a lot more than most people, but probably not enough. But enough that we wouldn't be the fast forward couple. The choreographers we worked with, the mentors and coaches we work with, no disrespect to them, but it didn't necessarily have a stretching either. Now it came time for Thanksgiving weekend and we performed our routine. And I'm happy to say, this time we had tremendous positive feedback. We were ecstatic and we couldn't wait for the viewing party. And lo and behold, we were not the fast forward couple that year. And it was not because it was my turn to host the viewing party. We were legit not the fast forward couple. Now, one might think you met your goal, right? You set a goal and you achieved it. You weren't the fast forward couple. But we just heard from Dr. Michael's speech around perspective. What if we had set the goal to simply, what if we could get in the top 10? That goal would have a stretch. That would have a tremendous value on treating our dance growth like it was worth $1 million. But instead, we set a goal that was average. It's as close to the top as it is to the bottom. If we had empowered one another and really looked into what is possible, could we have brought more value to our dance, more value to those who got to experience it? We don't know. But I think that there is a lot of value in the currency we could have had with that audience. And all the people who bought the DVDs and were watching it. I hope they're watching it. But it's the perspective on how you take a chance and how you're treating your personal growth. Is that worth $1 million to you? We don't know what we don't know, but we know that life is now and it's worth taking a chance on. Are we making our choices from our considerations and fears, or out of what's possible for growth? A few years ago, I worked for a male vice president. I was the only female of 6 direct reports to him. I was the youngest. And I oversaw projects that nobody really cared about. And to top it off, my boss called me kiddo. So you can imagine how tough it was to break barriers in that environment. Now, seeing my growth in Toastmasters, luckily, my boss offered me the opportunity to run all of our retail stores, our outlet stores in the US. Now, this was a huge opportunity. But the thing is, I had 0 retail experience. Never worked in retail, never worked in hospitality or restaurants, always worked in an office. I had never managed people in a paid environment where I am now responsible for their growth and delivering on goals. I had never managed both sides of a profit and loss statement. And yet somehow he's offering this opportunity to me. And by the way, 2 months prior to this offer, I was elected to be the district governor of District 1. And those of you who have gone before me know that that also is like having a full-time job. And so here I am having 2 full-time jobs, learning from the ground up. And that's only 2 parts of my life. I had friends, I had family, dancing, of course, traveling. I'm heavily involved in my church. I have all sorts of activities. So how was I going to balance this? Was I scared? Yes. Afraid to disappoint? Absolutely. I am the oldest child, type A. I'm afraid to disappoint. Have to be in control. But I did it anyway. And having been in Toastmasters and already been in district leadership and doing several high performance leadership projects, I was able to cut my learning curve down. I had done projects and exercises around vision and mission and setting goals, having courageous conversations, team development, succession planning. The very things I was learning in Toastmasters were applicable to what I was doing at work, and it cut down the learning curve tremendously. But what I didn't share was my boss gave us stretch goals that year. He wanted a 20% increase in sales. Now, to give you perspective, in Toastmasters, they only ask you for an 8% increase in membership. My boss was asking for 20. My first year, and it wasn't even a full year, I got the job in July. So here we are, 2 months before the end of the year, and we are nowhere on track for his stretch goals. So working with my Toastmasters mentor, we role played on how the conversation might go to let him know we're not on track. And I went into his office. And what you need to know about my boss is he was one of the most respected people in our supply chain. He was an incredible public speaker. No one ever wanted to speak after him. He was wicked smart, dry, sarcastic humor. Sometimes you didn't know if he was serious or if he was kidding. And he called me kiddo. And I'm gonna go tell him we're not on track. So I went into his office, had the conversation, and I said, you know, they're just stretch goals. So let me give you a side tip. When your boss gives you a goal and you're about to tell him things are not on track, do not put the word just in front of his baby. Many of us know that when you say just, it minimizes it. It was an incredible learning experience seeing his face literally look from the table and just raise up his eyes at me. And then it was silent. Without even looking at me, his lifeless face said, lowering the goal is not an option. It sends the wrong message. Go see what you can get. The silence was deafening in his office, and it was my cue to get the heck out. I was completely deflated, racking my brain. How was I going to cheer on my team to close the gap? I wasn't even thinking we could reach the stretch goal. I just wanted to close the gap. Not be the fast forward couple. But what I learned was the same way that we rallied the members in District 1. I can't tell you how many one-on-one conversations I had. And now, mind you, it was a lot easier then because we were doing things in person, and so I could see a lot of people at once. But I would ask them, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Because when I could show them there were opportunities in Toastmasters that could help them with their skills that they could go take somewhere else, they were a heck of a lot more likely to deliver what I needed without me even saying that's what I needed. That's what it means to lead from what the members want and need. What do they truly want? What does it mean to be part of a distinguished district for you? And it was the same way that I connected with my employees at work. What did it mean to them to reach those stretch goals? Did they think they could get a promotion? Was it a sense of pride? We had never done something like that before, from what I understood from prior leaders who had my role. And wouldn't you know it, they found the most creative ways to stock the store, to engage with customers, and we started seeing those sales rise. And it wasn't just because it was the end of the year where everyone buys their toys at Christmas time, because we could see the number of items going up as well. We exceeded the stretch goal that year by 4%. And in the district, we exceeded and we had 9% growth in our membership, ranked 9th in the world. The team at work got a tremendous recognition that we have in our internal system and very nice bonuses that year. My boss believed in me and the potential that I didn't even see. And I was in Toastmasters and I'm setting stretch goals there. And it was a great learning experience on, you've got to map it on in the real world. The real world. I hate that term. I got to get it out of my language. Everything is a real world in our non-Toastmasters world. On my deck team, we had someone get a promotion at work. We had an individual take on a very large role in her church. And one of my dear friends who combined his PhD with his Toastmasters training to coach several people who collectively over 3 years increased their personal income by over $500,000. This is literal valuable currency, but it's the impact that they were having on others because they chose to develop and treat their own personal growth like it was worth $1 million. Now, there are many things competing for your time, but you know I did not miss one family function that year. Not one. We get to learn those things in Toastmasters or being in the Speakers Bureau. My question is, what would it take for you to take your speaking skills or your business or your programs to the next level? What are you willing to risk? Is your busyness aligned with your goals? Is it aligned with how you want to experience life? Is it aligned with how you want people to experience you? If not, every moment is a new moment and you get to make something new out of it. If it is, you're on the right track. Keep going. And here is my nephew, right on time. Keep going. The most valuable currency you have is the effect you have on others. And the best way to have a positive effect is by treating your own growth like it's worth $1 million. So the next time you want to respond, I'm busy, just take a quick check-in with yourself and see if that busyness is aligning with what you want to do. And for those of you who've heard my message before, if you've been thinking about what you've done differently or have tried courageously since you heard my message the first time, if you feel like it, I invite you to pop it in the chat. What ways have you been treating your personal growth like it's $1 million? Was there something that you turned down out of fear or your considerations because being the fast forward couple was good enough in that moment? But maybe the next time it will get you into the top 10. You chose to be here today. You could have been anywhere. The climate is a little unsettling in our country right now. We could be curled up under the covers, but you chose to be here. That is your growth and leadership calling. Answer it. The effect you have on others is the most valuable currency you have. So treat your growth like it's worth $1 million. Mr. Chair.